self-care. I'm Jen, lifestyle YouTuber and your host of this podcast, where we dive deep with insightful guests to find out how self-care has played a role in their success. Welcome to our community. Everyone, and welcome back to our community. I am so excited for today's guest. If you are here on YouTube, you probably already know her, NATALIE BARBU. I will get into her introduction and everything we spoke about in just a little bit before the interview, but first, by now you know that we start every episode with what was in alignment for me this week and what was out of alignment this week. And if you're new, the purpose of talking about what was out of alignment this week is to talk about it, let it out, and let it go. And I hope that you guys are all thinking about what was in and out of alignment for you this week as well, and we can all let it go together. So what was really in alignment for me this week was friendships and feeling gratitude for having such incredible friendships in my life. I think anytime you have something major happen or you launch something, like I launched the podcast this week, or even if tragedy happens in your life, I think these major moments in our lives allow you to really see who's there for you, who's super supportive of you, and just see who shows up for you. And I am so grateful that so many of my amazing friends showed up for me, and it just allowed me to take a step back and realize, wow, I have incredible friends in my life. I texted my boyfriend, Ethan, and I don't even think he read the text because, he doesn't read my texts because I'm annoying and text all the time. But I did text him something that one of my best friends had written to me, which completely made my day. And I said, we have some really great people in our lives. And I think anytime you can take a step back and have gratitude for anything in your life, but especially the people that surround you and that you surround yourself with, it's a truly powerful, amazing moment. And I feel like it's just made me have such a grateful heart throughout this entire week. I think it's easy to overlook something that you have because it's easy to just think about what you don't have, and also to just think that, if I have something, everyone has it, and not realize that I have not one, not two, I have a bunch of really, really supportive, close, amazing friends in my life. And it gave me the space to take a step back and not only appreciate everyone, but also realize not everyone has this. Not everyone has a solid group of best friends from every stage in life. I have really close friends that I'm still so close with from growing up, from high school, from camp, from college, from after college, as some of my jobs that I've had since graduating. I have some really, really special people in my life, and not everyone has that. I say this not to make anyone feel less than or feel like they're lacking something in their life, but if you are hearing this and you're like, wow, that must be really great, I feel like I don't have anyone, or if you're having any uncomfortable thoughts around this topic, all of this to say, don't close yourself off to anyone. Even now, I think I know loneliness is more prevalent than ever right now. We're all completely isolated in our homes. It makes complete sense. But you can I have friends that I have met online that I feel super close with, that I can talk to about things that I might not be able to talk to some people that I grew up with just because of the nature of being on YouTube. I don't have any close friends from growing up on YouTube. And by the way, I love that. I don't want to just get sucked into just being friends with YouTubers or anything like that. That is not why I do this. But sometimes it's nice to stumble across these online communities, whether a Facebook group, a Patreon group, which is very relevant right now because NATALIE BARBU has a Patreon group that I'm a part of, where I've met some really great friends that I can talk to and relate to about juggling a full-time job and YouTube, or just anything about, having an online presence. I found those people online. I've never met them, but I have a space to go to where I can feel supported if I am having those struggles when it comes to YouTube or podcasting even. There are also groups like I've mentioned on the last episode that I have addiction in my family, and I'm a part of an Al-Anon group on Facebook. So I know that if I'm ever struggling with something, knock on wood, luckily I'm not, because my sister is almost 2 years sober and I'm so proud of her. But if you are someone who's struggling with an addict in the family and you have no one to talk to, whether it's because your family's keeping it as a secret, or you just feel like no one would understand, or you just simply don't have anyone to talk to, you're an only child, you don't have anyone outside of your family to talk to, you can find groups like that on Facebook where you can just go, pour your heart out and get support in return. You can meet someone at work, in a coffee shop, and they can end up being someone who supports you through one of the best or hardest times in your life. So just don't close yourself off to anyone. I'm genuinely so excited. I'm only 24 and I'm so excited to see who is going to end up being one of my best friends at a future job, or when you're a mom, when you move, you make mommy friends. Like, there are so many special people that are going to walk into your life. So although right now might be a super lonely time, just take the time to really get to know yourself and find those sources of light, whether it's online. My DMs are always open. So that was what was super in alignment for me this week, is just feeling really grateful for the friends in my life. And one fun thing that I did this week was I was super stressed, which we will get into on what was out of alignment for me this week. Don't you worry. And so I decided I'm going to put everything away and take a bath. I've taken like 2 baths in my apartment ever. Wednesday night was one of them. All of my friends from high school, there's a group of like 10 of us who have still remained really close. I love them so much. They were all FaceTiming while I was in the bath. And I went to change the song or change the podcast, whatever I was listening to, and I saw that they were all FaceTiming. So I took a moment and I was like, should I just keep relaxing in this bath? And then I was like, no, I have not spoken to all of them at once in so long. So I took the phone into the bathtub with me. I had my pop socket. I was very careful. And I just FaceTimed all my friends while in the bath for like 45 minutes. And it was the highlight of my week. It was exactly what I needed. Connecting with my friends while taking a bath, like, that is ultimate self-care. Highly recommend taking a bath while FaceTiming someone. But if you do drop your phone in the water, just don't blame me. Thank you. Before I move on to what was not in alignment for me this week, there was just something else this week that I am so obsessed with that I need to mention. I won't go too much into it because I have a feeling I'm going to be mentioning it a lot because I'm so obsessed with it. And that is Beam. That is a brand. It's a CBD brand. And they have this Sleepy Time Dream tea. They also have capsules, but my obsession this week is the tea. It's not a tea. It's like a hot cocoa. It's just like a drink. It has cacao powder, nano CBD, melatonin, magnesium. So it's not like when you just use a CBD dropper and you're like, I don't feel anything, I don't know. But so I drank it on Monday night with some hot water and hot milk, and it was just such a nice sweet treat. It definitely made me super sleepy, but it was at 10 p.m. So, I could have just been really tired in general. But yesterday, I was editing a video and I took the sleepy tea at like 7:30 p.m. And by 8:15 p.m., I kid you not, I was falling asleep. And I realized it's because it's not just the CBD. There's all these other elements in there that promote healthy sleep. There's reishi mushroom, there's magnesium, melatonin, there's so much. I will stop dragging this on because I could talk about it forever, but I'm just obsessed with the CBD brand, and I'm very excited because no, this is not sponsored at all. I'm just genuinely obsessed with them, but they do have a discount code for all of you guys, which is JenLauren15, and you get 15% off. So you're welcome. I save all my discount codes on my personal Instagram at Jen_Lauren with 2 N's. So you can go into the discounts highlight there. But anyway, I highly recommend, please DM me if you end up drinking this stuff because I know that you will love it and be passing out. Chef's kiss. Okay, now on to the less fun stuff, which is what was not in alignment for me this week. So what wasn't in alignment for me this week was stress and overwhelm. I got really, really overwhelmed and stressed this week. I think that's a product of also launching something new. When I first started YouTube, editing and all of this stuff was way more daunting and took way more time in the beginning. And now I can edit a YouTube video super quickly. I mean, it still takes like over an hour, but compared to all day. So it's the same thing with podcasting. It's a learning curve, and it's another thing that I'm adding on to my plate, but I have felt so exhilarated and excited about it. Like, something in my soul is literally on fire between YouTube and podcasting. I feel my purpose coming on. I know this sounds woo-woo, but I just feel super in alignment with everything I'm doing. However, this week, it all stems from one thing that happened, which was I lost all of my footage. My memory card was wiped clean. I was in the middle of a 30-day stretch challenge for YouTube. I was in the middle of a meditation challenge for YouTube. I filmed an entire What I Eat in a Day for this Sunday, and I was so proud of it. It was my favorite video by far that I've done on the What I Eat in a Day because I have a new tripod. I had a whole new setup. I made butternut squash soup. I made pork chops. Like, I made it all, and because I made it for the week, I couldn't just refilm it the next day. Also, I was super drained from the emotional toll that it took on me that all of my entire memory card was wiped clean. So as you can imagine, that was just super stressful and anxiety provoking. But I will say, going back to last week, the Kundalini breathwork and meditation has helped me. I swear, I was not reactive. I was in solution first mode, and when I realized there was no solution, I felt a little bit anxiety, but I took a bath and I didn't work myself up over it, and I just started thinking, okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna have to refilm this. I'm gonna have to move around my content schedule. I got past it, moral of the story. However, it was just a really stressful week. I felt super overwhelmed with work because I was ahead of my YouTube game and all my footage, and then I lost all of it. So I was like, how am I gonna film all these videos, catch up on the challenges that I already had filmed? Like, I had before photos and before footage that I'm gonna have to figure out a solution on how to redo this challenge. And I have a ton of work to do in my full-time job all day long. So it was just a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm, but everything happens for a reason. And I truly believe that I found Kundalini breathwork and meditation last week. It has helped me in a really stressful week in my life. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And we are just going to breathe in and let it go. That was last week. We're on to a new week. I hope you guys are breathing in more of what was in alignment for you this week and breathing out everything that was out of alignment for you this week. Also, an update since last week, I did get outside a lot more. I made sure, even if it was just a 10-minute walk, I put on a good podcast, and that always makes me keep going and walking for longer because I know that once I get back into my apartment, I'm going to turn my podcast off and do what I need to do, or like watch Housewives. That's also something I need to do, right? So sometimes when I'm really into a podcast, I just want to keep walking because I don't want to finish listening to it. So that definitely helped. And just coming here last week and being able to reflect on how I barely got out of the apartment last week helped me to bring that into this week. So I hope this is a space where you guys are figuring out what you can bring into your next week as well. And without further ado, let's introduce our guest of this week, NATALIE BARBU. She is a jack of all trades. She is a YouTuber, a podcaster. Her podcast is called The Real Reel. The whole idea of it is pulling down the curtain of the highlight reel and talking about the real reel. So I love that. She is the founder of We Bloom Agency, formerly known as Barbu Agency. She just announced the new name this weekend, which is super exciting. And she's soon to be launching a productivity content planning app as well, which we'll get into in this episode. She's only 24 years old, same age as me. So she is truly such an inspiration on content creation and everything entrepreneurial. She is incredible. And she also seems to have a really good balance. And it just feels like everything that she's doing in terms of her entrepreneurial pursuits is all just out of passion. And I completely relate to that. So we can all learn so much from her. We are going to be talking about how to get past that embarrassment factor of putting yourself out there and being on YouTube or being on Instagram, whatever it is, creating content, getting over any embarrassment. I think this will be especially helpful for anyone who is looking to start their own channel or is in middle school or high school and surrounded by all their peers and their opinions all the time. We talk a lot about that and how empowering it is to just leave that bubble and be on your own in college and after college and just do you and not care what anyone thinks, which is easier said than done, but we dive a lot more into that in this episode. We talk about balancing your time and your energy on social media, especially because she works on social media and of course we're socializing on social media and of course we're in a pandemic, so everything's on social media. So she has a lot of great tips there on just how to control your screen time. And we also talk about how she quit her job, her full-time job at 23 years old. Right after college, she was there for about 6 months. We talk about how that came about. And then moving into starting her agency and coping with imposter syndrome and how she talks herself out of that. Starting your day with gratitude, journaling, staying off your phone, the importance of a morning routine, her specific morning routine. We just talk about all things self-care, especially as it pertains to social media and also working for yourself. So I cannot wait for you guys to listen. If you are here on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up if you're excited to hear from NATALIE. I know I was, and I know that this is going to bring you guys so much value. So without further ado, introducing NATALIE BARBU. welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on.
Hi, I'm so excited to be on. I've literally, since the day that you decided that you were going to start your podcast, I was so excited to be one of your first guests.
I know. Well, you're the reason that I'm starting it because basically, for those of you who may or may not know, Natalie is the founder of Barbu Agency and she has consultations. I've done a bunch of consultations with her for my YouTube channel and we just end up like naturally chatting at the end. And I was like, one day I'm going to start a podcast. And she was like, well, just do it. Like, why not? And I was like, you're right. So 3 weeks later, here we are. So everyone can thank Natalie for this content, basically.
No, I'm so excited. And I feel like the idea of it is so unique. I feel like it's like, yes, it's interview style, but it's talking about mental health and self-care. And I'm like, I personally love that. Like, I love talking about that because I feel like you can ask like different set of questions.
It's funny because when you come up with an idea yourself, you just assume that it's been done before. And I'm sure it has, but like you don't realize that it's unique. So I think
Mhm.
I just like needed to hear your perspective of that. And it really pushed me in this direction. So I'm so excited to dive into it with you. I guess let's just start with like chronological order YouTube. You started YouTube at such a young age, I feel like. So I'm curious, what was it that drew you to YouTube? Was it something deeper or was it literally just, I'm bored, I have nothing to do, I'm going to start making videos?
Yeah, so I started when I was 15, in 2011. And so I grew up kind of watching Bethany Moda, Juicy Star 07, all of those girls. But honestly, what pushed me to start doing YouTube was after watching, I'm pretty sure it was like Juicy Star 07 and then Claudia Saluski. I don't remember her
Mhm.
name before like all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
glitters or
yeah.
something like that. It was some type of name like that. But their videos, and I remember watching them for like 2 weeks, and that was it. And I was like, wait, I can do this. Like these girls are around my age. They're not makeup artists. They're not they're not celebrities. They're just in their rooms. I was like, I have a camera. I have my laptop that has a camera on it. Like, let me just try making a video. And so I used to get comments all the time that I looked like Aria Montgomery from Pretty Little Liars. Like people would always tell me I looked like
Yep,
Lucy
I
Hale
see
when
it.
I was younger. And so I was like, I'll just do an Aria Montgomery makeup tutorial because Pretty Little Liars is super popular. And
Mhm.
I just started, and I remember getting 3 subscribers in like the first week. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I cannot believe I have 3 subscribers. And like, I remember getting like one comment, and I was like, I can't believe people are talking to me on this. And I just like instantly became hooked with like talking to people on the internet, which is definitely something that like your parents warn you
Yeah.
about when you're younger. But I
Yeah.
was like so excited to
Yeah.
like chat with people online.
Yeah. I feel like the 3 subscribers also were so crazy for you because if I remember correctly, you were sort of hiding it. It's not like nowadays, if you had started it now, you'd be posting it everywhere and like all of your friends and family would follow you and you'd have 100 subscribers right away. But
Mhm.
having those like 3 people just find you out of the blue must have just been so crazy, like
Exactly.
starting from
I like
scratch.
to this day, I'm like, I don't know how they found me. Like, I do
Yeah.
not know how they found me, but whatever. Thank you if you're
They
one of the
searched Pretty
three. Then
Little Liars.
yeah,
Yeah, I would actually love to know who they are and, like, talk to them now.
I
That'd be
know.
so I wonder if they know. Like, I wonder if they realize that they were your first, like, under 10 subscribers.
I feel like it's like bot accounts or something, or like I don't know, maybe people
True.
that were just like following everyone. I'm like, I have no idea how I got those first 3, but I'm very thankful for them.
Yeah. So, on that note, as I mentioned, you were a little apprehensive at first to just share. Were you in middle school
I was in high school.
when you started?
I was entering my sophomore year of high school.
Okay, because middle school for me was like bully central and just so brutal. I don't want to say childhood actress because that sounds like I was like Dakota Fanning, but when I was younger, would go on auditions for commercials and stuff, and I would be in random commercials and get made fun of, and it was the most mortifying thing ever. But now looking back, it's like, oh my God, if anyone made fun of me now for that, I'd be like, yeah, I got so much money for that.
I
Like,
know.
I'd be so much more confident now. So looking back just at how embarrassed you were at the time, like what do you wish you could say to your younger self? Because you took off your channel, right? Once when you were like getting nervous
Yeah.
about people making fun of you.
Yeah, so I never took it down, but I did stop posting for a while because I was really embarrassed and I was like, people are making fun of me. Like people are finding this and they think it's weird. So I did end up not I posted like I think 5 videos in 1 year, which essentially is like quitting. Like it's like nothing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I was really embarrassed and I was like, I probably when I go to college, like that's it. Like I'm not gonna be doing this anymore. But I really like I really did though when I got to college. I was like, I don't care what people think about me. Like at the end of the day, we're adults now. And that was my justification. I
Mhm.
was like, we're 18, we're adults. And as if that like changes so much. But I was like, we're 18 years old now. And if people care about what I'm doing with my life, then that shows more on them than it does on me. And I wish that I could tell my younger self that like people don't like if people are talking bad about you, people are caring about what you're doing with your life, that's pathetic on their end, like not yours. Like that's not something
Mhm.
that you should care about. Like you are working on yourself and like I would never look at someone that like tried to, go into a career and be like, "Oh, like that's so weird of them." Like I would
No, never.
never
Yeah.
think that about someone. I'd be like, "Oh, okay, that's cool that they're trying to do that. Like hope it works out." That's
Yeah.
that's all. And so I feel like because I'm not that person that would ever like bully someone for what they're doing, I just am like, that's like so sad on their end. Like, I don't know what they're going through, but that does not reflect on me. Like, that's not a reflection of who
Yeah.
I am if they don't like my videos. And a lot of the times it was a lot
Mhm.
of guys that made fun of it. And I was like, they're not even my demographic. Like, it's like, whatever. Like,
Yeah. They don't get it. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, so I wish I could just tell my younger self that like it shows so much more on them than it does on you because I feel like that would have saved me a lot of embarrassment and like insecurity.
Yeah. And there's also something to the fact that in middle school and high school, you have to see these people every single
Hmm.
day. You can't really avoid them. So there's probably something really empowering, honestly, about just going off to college. And it's like, if they're going to talk about me, and I feel this way too, just like even in quarantine, it's like, if they're going to send, for example, like an Instagram video to their friend, like I don't have to see that. I don't have to see what they say. But in high school, middle school, it's like they're ruthless and they literally say it to your face and you have to sit in class with them for the next 45 minutes. So it is very empowering just to like be out of that bubble.
Totally.
And now it's like we can choose who our friends are. We can choose who we associate ourselves with because there are people who still make fun of, like, there definitely are people from my high school that are just really insecure and not happy on their own who probably are looking at my videos, your videos, and are saying, like, talking shit, to be honest. But
Hmm.
those aren't the people that we want to be friends with anyway.
Right.
And as long as you don't do that to other people, then it's like,
Right.
whatever, like you do you.
And I feel like people are always going to talk badly about people till the end of time. Like that's never going to change. So like you can't let
Hmm.
that affect what your life ends up being. Like if I had let them
Yeah.
let me stop my YouTube channel, where would I be today? Like that's like a scary thought. I'm like, "Oh my God, thank God I
Yeah.
didn't let them like make me stop?"
Yeah, 100%. And on that note, do you get hate comments on YouTube and does it affect you? Do you have like a strategy? Are you deleting them? Do you care? What's
Oh
your like
yeah, I mean,
coping mechanism for that?
I think getting hate comments is also another thing that will happen forever. You're never gonna eliminate hate comments, and that's no one will eliminate hate comments. Like every person will get hate comments. There are some people that I look up to, and I'm like, oh my God, their videos are so inspiring. They're so nice. They're just such great people, and they get hate comments, and I'm like, I don't even understand like
Mhm.
how that person could, but they do, and that's what kind of when I realized like everyone is gonna get them, and it's just an unfortunate part of the job. But I mean, I will block people if they're being really nasty. I will delete comments if they're being really mean, just because that's not something I want on my page. Like, there are plenty of places on the internet, like your own page, that you can talk shit about me if you want. Like, you
Uh-huh.
can post that on
Yeah.
your own story, and I can't control that. Or you can, I don't know, like talk about it with your friends, and that's not something I can control. But I can
Mhm.
control what goes on, like my Instagram, my YouTube channel, and if I don't want to see that, then I'm gonna delete it. Like I don't think that should be a controversial
Yeah.
thing. And I think
Yeah.
there's a difference between constructive criticism and hate. Like I'm not saying like if people
Totally.
are giving you feedback, if people are giving you constructive criticism, I don't think that that is necessarily a hate comment. Like I think people have
Yeah.
their right to say like, "Hey, I don't like the way you did this," or whatever. So I don't delete those, but
Yeah.
if something's just straight up like mean and nasty, like I'm not gonna keep that on. And like I will
Yeah.
gladly block people. Like if you don't like me, I will do you a favor and you won't have to see me again. So I'll just block you.
Right. I'm
So
with
it's
you.
such
I
a,
hate that mentality.
yeah,
Yeah, I hate the mentality of like, don't let them win. Like, what do you mean? If I don't want to see it, then I don't have to see it. I totally
exactly.
agree with you.
And they don't have to see
I
me. It's a win-win.
Right. Yeah, I actually really like that. Something I started doing, I've only gotten a few, but I literally have just responded back to each of them and said, "Thanks for the comment," with like a laughing crying
Yeah.
face, because it's like you're giving me an extra comment on my page and you don't realize it's helping the algorithm. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, that too. I mean, there are some people I feel like that will like not follow you, not like whatever, which is totally fine. Like I would gladly have people that don't like me unfollow me, but then we'll still go back and like watch all my stuff or comment on my stuff or reply to my stories. And I'm like, you don't even follow me. Like what?
Makes no sense. It really makes no sense. Like I will never wrap my head around it. I don't understand it, but I totally love how you're like, well, I'll just block you and then you don't have to see my content. So it's
Yeah.
a win-win.
Yeah.
I love that. Um, so on that, sort of talking about YouTube and sort of talking about how what drew you to YouTube in the beginning. What draws you to YouTube now? Like, why are you still doing it? I don't know how many years later, 10 years later. Like
Almost 10 years.
what
Yeah.
yeah, that's so crazy. So like what is it now? Obviously you've grown so much since then. What is it now that keeps you going on there?
I mean, still like with I know we can talk about hate comments and like people talking badly about you, but that is such a small percentage. Like literally that's like
Mhm.
one, not even 1%. So really what I love about it is interacting with people on it. I think from like day one I like love those like 3 subscribers and love those like one person commenting. So like to this day I love interacting with people. Like I love talking one on one with people. I like becoming friends with them. I like getting to know them in a deeper way other than just like, oh, they're my subscriber. And like, obviously, I can't do that with everyone, but like, I love seeing like names that comment, like the people that comment on all my stuff or like the people that DM me a lot and like having conversations with them. Like, to
Mhm.
me, that is the best part. Like, I feel like I have a friend anywhere I go, which sounds super cheesy, but I know that if I were to
No,
move,
it's so true.
yeah, like if I were to move to a random city, I would 100% would ask my subscribers to hang out because I don't, like
Yeah.
I feel like we're the same around the same age, we're in the same life stage, like we probably are pretty similar, like we would
Mhm.
be great friends in real life. So I just love that like engagement part where I can like talk to people and like have them, just be my friend. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I love doing that.
I like how you sort of view your subscribers as friends rather than sort of that like celebrity and fan mentality, because it's like just because they don't make videos with their time doesn't mean that they have to just look up to you. Like you really can just be people that would have an amazing conversation and could hang out. So I love that you're not above that.
Oh, no, not I mean, honestly, some of my best friends have come from them watching my videos, and to the like, now thinking about that, I'm like, "Oh, that's so weird." Like, I forgot that that's how this friendship started. But there's like, my
Yeah.
best friend
Yeah.
from college, we lived together, my senior year. We're, like, super, super close. She reached out to me because she, like, watched my videos in college, and we, like, hung out and got coffee, and we're literally, like, best friends now. So it's like to me,
Yeah.
I don't think of her as like, oh, someone that used to watch my videos. Like, I watch so many people's videos that I am now friends with, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe we're
Yeah.
friends. Like, I'm trying to think because I started so long ago, so I've kind of grown up with all of these YouTubers, like, like Shelby and Monica Church were people that I would watch when I was like really, really young. And now, like, I live with Shelby when I lived in LA, and like, I don't view it as like, oh my God, I'm such a fangirl. But when I think back, I'm
Right.
like, oh wow, like I used to be like I knew you before you ever knew who I was. Like that's so weird.
Yeah.
So
But it
it's
makes sense. It makes sense because when I'm watching people, like the people that I choose to watch, it's like I watch their vlogs because I feel like I'm hanging out with them in a weird way. So it's someone that you would want to hang out with. And
right.
so it makes sense that you would end up being good friends.
Yeah, right, right. So that's why like I really do like just the communication aspect with like communicating with all of
Yeah.
the people that follow me, and I think that's like the honestly the best part.
Yeah. Does that ever get overwhelming in the sense that I feel like we all need to unplug from social media, like no matter what field you're in, especially now because everything is virtual, everything's digital, everything's on social media right now. Do you ever get overwhelmed with the fact that like your social life, your work life, everything is on there? Or do you like thrive in that and just being in social media all the time?
Yeah, I mean, this year has been the first year that I have really felt it be overwhelming. I think one, with everyone being on their computers and on their phones and
Hmm.
consuming content all the time, I think everyone has kind of been overwhelmed by it. And so I've just been really overwhelmed by like being on my phone too much and like taking in too many comments to heart if they're like mean or if even constructive criticism. I'll be like, oh my gosh, if they don't like me, so I realized
Yeah.
like I need to just like step away. Like I just can't be consuming it all the time. So I've set like limits on my phone for social media apps and like
Hmm.
I've it's definitely been harder like not talking to people obviously on it, but I think it's been good because now I don't need to consume everything. I don't need to see everything people like say to me or about me. So it's one of those
Hmm.
things where it's like I can just put it down or like I don't need to constantly be scrolling and seeing what everyone's doing on social media because that can get exhausting and like you compare yourself to them or you're just like for me, whenever I'm on like YouTube, sometimes I'm thinking like, oh, that'd be a good video idea. That'd be a good video idea because I do it. So it's like
Hmm.
half research, even when I'm like enjoying my free time, like watching. And so sometimes
I totally agree.
I need to watch Netflix. Like,
I totally agree. So, with the screen time, I do the same thing, but are you good about when it says like your limit is up on Instagram? Are you good about Xing out or do you click ignore a lot? Because I
most of
click
the
ignore a
time,
lot and I hate it.
most of the time, I'm pretty good about it. There's some days where I'll justify it because I'm on Instagram for work in the sense of like I have to upload a sponsored post or
Yeah.
I have to like edit a story and I'm spending 20 minutes editing a story. So I'm like, that doesn't count towards my like hour of
Yeah.
screen time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most of the time I'm good. But if the limit goes off at like 4 p.m., then I definitely hit ignore by the end of the night. But I try not to hit it that often. But if it's already nighttime and it's the limit comes up, I don't extend it because I'm like, okay, I don't need to be on this anymore. It's all right. Like
Me
I'm
too.
about to go to bed soon. But if it's like middle of the day, I definitely extend it.
Yeah. I do like though that it at least makes me second guess myself and it's like that little reminder even if I do end up clicking ignore because there's something I really want to check or whatever.
Right.
It's like a little reminder that's like you've been staring at a screen for this many hours of your day and then some because we're on the computer, we're on our TVs, like literally we live on our screens now. There's no even just the 10 minutes I used to walk to work or whatever. Like there's none of that.
That's so
So
true.
yeah. Oh my God. It's like I literally feel like all I do is stare at the screen all day. My eyes are going to be, I genuinely feel like there's going to be research that comes out that all of our eyes are just not going to work in like 30 years because all I'm doing is staring at screens. I have those blue light glasses. I don't know if they work. Do you use those?
I do. I don't use them all the time. I'm not using them right now, but I do try to use them, especially when I feel like my eyes are being strained or like I'm getting a
Yeah.
headache. I'll like try to put them on.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if they do anything, but
They're so cute
sometimes I
though.
throw them on at night. I
I'll wear them
know.
like
I
out
feel
to the
cute in
park.
them. I know. I have the Felix Gray ones and I like feel so chic in them.
I know. I love mine.
Yeah. Um, Something else I did want to talk to you about. So, moving sort of, you started YouTube, then you graduate college, you're working in consulting, and you end up quitting your job to do content creation full time. So, was that something that you were looking to do for a while? Was it something you were saving up for, planning for, or was it? I think it was Katie Bellotti. I listened to her podcast recently where she was like, I just one day realized, wait, why am I still doing this?
Yeah.
and then the next day she quit. So was it like that for you or was it something you were saving up for and planning for?
So my original plan when I graduated college was I'm going to work for 2 years and then I'm going to quit and do my own thing. Whatever my own thing was at that point, I didn't necessarily say I'm going to do YouTube full time, but I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to just be self-employed. So like my initial
Mhm.
plan in my head was, okay, quit after 2 years. Like that sounds reasonable. Get some like, corporate experience and then like go off and do my own thing. Once I got into the corporate world, I realized it was a lot like harder to manage my YouTube channel and like working full time. And also my YouTube channel started growing really, really quickly the year that I was working. And it was also due to the fact that I was working. So it was kind of that like
Mhm.
double-edged sword where I was like, people are watching my content because I'm working, but this is not feasible. This is not sustainable. Like I hope
Right.
that they end up liking me for me because like I like if I quit, are they just gonna stop watching me because they found my content through my working vlogs, you know? And so that
Hmm.
was kind of scary for me. So I kind of stuck it out a little longer than I probably needed to. But once I started working there, I was like, okay, maybe not 2 years. I'll quit after 1 year. I was like, I'll quit at the end of my, like in September when I started. And
Hmm.
then it kind of came down to like sometime in the spring, and I kind of like Katie, I was just like, I don't need this. Like, I have money saved
Yeah.
up. I'm getting like I'm making more money on YouTube than I am even at my corporate job. Like, I don't need to be doing this anymore. And then I was also thinking, I was like, usually people work at a place for 2 years or 1 year because when they apply somewhere else, it's like, oh, you had like a whole year of experience at this place. Like, it doesn't look like you're bouncing
Hmm.
around. It doesn't look like you're a quitter. But I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not applying to another job. Like, I want to work for
Right.
myself. So then I ended up quitting, and it was definitely the best decision I've ever made with that. I ended up giving them my notice, and I didn't have like a 2 week notice or anything. I was just like, I'm gonna quit. Like, when can I kind of roll off? Like, when's best for you? So I
Yeah.
gave them 6 weeks. So I was working 6 weeks after I quit, which is a really long time for afterwards.
Did you have like a big celebration like on your last day? Were you so excited?
Yeah, well, me and my roommate actually, funny enough, we quit the same exact day. Our last day of work was the same exact day, which is so
For the same
weird.
reason?
No, she was going to another job. So she was going to
Uh-huh.
another job, and then I was quitting, but our last days were still the same day. So we had like this big party at our apartment. We
That's
were
so
like
fun.
quitting our jobs. Yeah.
That's so fun.
I know. She got like
I
a
wish I
better
could have been
job,
there.
and
That's so
yeah.
fun.
I was like, this is
That's
so
amazing.
exciting. Like,
Yeah. So, okay, you quit your job. You're so excited. How long after that did you start thinking of? Well, first of all, I did want to say it's funny because you were like, oh, I'm not going to be doing the work week in my life content anymore, but you totally still do. And I find this personally, as someone who's not interested in consulting, like
yeah.
I find this so much more interesting. So it's just funny because like you still are doing work week in my life content, but it must have seemed just so intimidating beforehand. Like no one can relate to this, but it's more aspirational. And I think it's more interesting anyway.
Thank you.
And you
Yeah.
weren't really, you couldn't show us what you were doing at work, but now you're like, this is how I plan my content. Like you can actually take us along with you. So I actually think it's gotten better.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was also thinking about was like my work week in my life, like no one saw what I did at work. Like I literally feel it was
Right.
pretty much like morning routines and night routines, like every day. Like that's just
Yeah.
what it was. Cause like I couldn't show you what I
Yeah.
did. I never told people the company that I worked at. I didn't say like what I
Mhm.
did at my job, you know, so it's still very not secretive, but it wasn't that like transparent. Whereas now I feel like
Yeah.
since I'm working for myself, I can show whatever I want to show, which I think is really fun and like gives people more of
Yeah.
an
Love
insight.
that. 100%. So between the time that you quit, you start really diving into just doing content creation. And then one day, or not one day, but you end up deciding I'm going to start my own agency. What's like the timeline there and what made you even come up with that idea and want to start your own agency?
Yeah, so I started thinking about my own agency pretty much when I quit. Like I was like even before I quit, and that was kind of another push of why I should quit because at that point I had already had my podcast. I started my podcast in March and I didn't quit until June. So I had it for a few months while working, and it was getting really overwhelming doing YouTube and now a weekly podcast, and I really wanted to start these consultation services, but I was like there is absolutely no way I could do that. Like
Yeah.
0 hours in my day could go towards this if I'm still working. So I started thinking about it before I had quit my job. And then once I quit, I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing this because my goal was never to be a full time YouTuber. Like, even to this day, yes, YouTube is what like pays me the most right now. Like, that's like where my majority of my income is coming from. But I don't only want to do YouTube. And I hope that one day my other
Yeah.
stuff that I'm doing can make me more financially stable than YouTube can, you know? So, like, I've
Yeah.
never wanted to just do YouTube and that's it. And like, so I wanted to start the agency the second I like had free time to do it. So that's why I
Hmm.
kind of like started working on it, like started building the website out, started kind of thinking about my services that I'm going to offer, what I'm going to price them at, like what my goals are. I started thinking all about that after I had quit my job. And so a lot of my like work week in my life after I quit my job were like me working at coffee shops and stuff. And like it was me like working on stuff for the agency, wasn't a thing yet, but yeah, that was always like what I was trying to do was like start something like that. I didn't know what it would look like, so it was a lot of just like brainstorming and like getting inspiration from other people and stuff like that. But then
Mhm.
once I really did start like almost immediately after I had quit my job.
I fully relate to not just wanting to do the creative, but also like the strategy. And I genuinely enjoy working,
Hmm.
but it's a different story working on something that's fully yours and something you're fully passionate about. So I relate to just like wanting to do all of that, but for yourself. Did you have a sense of like you're starting your own agency at a very young age? And I mean, I think it's amazing, but did you have a voice in the back of your head, sort of like imposter syndrome, that was like, how am I going to get any clients? Do I have any credibility at this age as a young female? Like, did you feel any of that or not until you started getting into the brand work?
I felt it. So the way that I like kind of my brain works, I feel like, is that I get so excited about ideas and
Mm-hmm.
I literally like I probably the day I got the idea to start an agency, I signed up for Squarespace and bought the domain. Like I didn't even think. Like it was just like, oh, let me do
Yeah.
this. I'm so excited. So in those moments, I
Yeah.
don't have imposter syndrome because I'm so excited. But then once I start actually like working on it, I'm like who do I think I am? Like, am I really
Yeah.
gonna do this? You know, and so I think once it's kind of the excitement wears down is when I feel really discouraged. It's when I feel really worried. It's when I'm like, oh my God, like, is this gonna work? Like, who's gonna hire me? I still constantly feel like I'm like so young, even though like obviously 24, like going on 25 is like still really, really young. But it's not like I'm like 16 trying to start something. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not like you don't have any life skills
Yeah.
at 24. So I try not to let my age really be a factor in it. And but the thing for me is like I don't have experience, like I don't have a degree in it, or I don't have a, you know, like I didn't need work
Yeah.
at an agency before. But I kind of just like to think about it like there's so many people that don't have a degree in what they're working in. There's so many people that don't have a degree, period, and they're super successful. Or like people that haven't
Yeah.
had
It's the experience
right.
more than the degree. Like internships help me a million times more than my degree, to be honest, in terms of like
Exactly.
actually knowing what I'm doing in a certain job.
Right. So that's why I'm like, I have experience doing it for myself, helping my friends out, doing these one-on-one consultations. Like I can, I feel like I can do this. Like someone just needs to trust me really for it.
Mhm.
So I have definitely moments of imposter syndrome when I'm like working in it, like doing the actual like pitching or emails or stuff like that. I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like I feel like I'm not like cut out for this, but I just have to remind myself that like you are, like those are just negative thoughts in your head. Like you can still do this. And I just have to like constantly remind myself of that and like kind of get re-excited for it. Cause I'm the type of person that works when I'm very excited. I'm very
Yep.
impulsive. I'm very like, I can't wait to
Mhm.
start something and I'll literally like I want to, so I'm working on this app for like my agency and it's like a planning app. And I think you talked to the people, right? You talked to the designers for it. No, oh no. You had a survey. Sorry. I sent
Oh, I
designers
was like, did I?
no. I sent designers a list of questions to like ask for
Yeah,
like
yeah,
user
yeah.
research, but I sent you guys a survey. Okay. So
Yes.
they
I'm
created the
so
survey.
excited, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So like with that, literally the second I had the idea, I started looking up how to make an app. I started contacting developers. I started looking at, you know, like I don't really
Mhm.
sit and think about things. I just kind of do them and like figure it out along the way. Like that's kind of how I've done
Yeah.
everything. Like even my YouTube channel, I started watching these girls that did makeup videos. Literally the next day my video was up. Like I was watching them for I think maybe
Love
a
it.
week. Like not long. My podcast, I had listened to two podcasts, two skinny confidential podcasts, and I started my podcast. I was like, oh, this is fun.
Wow.
Like I'm just very, very
Yes, so you don't give
impulsive.
yourself the time to develop the imposter syndrome because you're just like, I'm going to do this. And a constant theme, I feel like, with anyone who's just like anytime you hear an interview with an entrepreneur, I just feel like the constant theme is they believed in themselves, they had confidence, and they did it. And it's like launch and adjust. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's where you're going to thrive because if you overthink things and start becoming a perfectionist, and honestly, you taught me this because I feel like I thought about YouTube for a while. And then with the podcast, you were just like, oh, so just do it. Like you were just
Yeah,
like,
like here's the
oh, you
Amazon
seem
link
excited
to
about
play.
it. Just do it. Yeah. So I
Right.
was like, oh, okay. And I'm becoming more like you, where like I got my mic that night and I was like, okay, so what's the name? Okay. Like I just started pitching. And I do think it's exciting. Like it's exciting and you just have to figure it out along the way because you're not going to figure out all the little nitty gritty things until you're actually doing it. Like nothing makes sense until you're actually doing it.
Right. And I feel like a lot of people want that success right away. It's like you see all these people that are like, let's say with podcasts that are on their thousandth podcast episode or hundredth podcast
Mm-hmm.
episode, and they have sponsors and they have downloads and their Instagram page is so cute. And your first one might have some like technical glitches, or your first one might have like some awkward pauses, and then you're like, oh my God, this isn't
Yeah.
good. And I'm not talking about you specifically, just like in general.
No, I
Like,
know.
oh, like this isn't that good. But like everyone's first is not the best. Like you're gonna look
Right.
back in a year from now and be like, oh my God, I'm such a better interviewer now, or I'm such a better whatever. Like I have such a better Instagram, I have such a better whatever. And like I feel like that is the beauty of it, is that you get better along the
Mm-hmm.
way. So I don't
Right.
know.
No one's going to be perfect at the start. So it's like, why are you going to hold off and wait until you feel like it's going to be perfect? Because regardless, it's not going to be.
Exactly.
Like the sooner you just start and try it out, the sooner you'll progress. So I love that. But also going back to sort of that imposter syndrome and your thought process, and like when you sort of get down on yourself, is that how do you talk yourself out of it? Do you have to take a minute? Like, what is your actual, I guess, coping mechanism?
Yeah. So for me, if like whatever it's stemming from, I try to separate myself from it. So like if all of a sudden I'm feeling doubt because I went on Instagram and I started like comparing myself to people, then I will literally just like log off and like put my phone down. Like I'll try to distract myself with something else. So kind of just getting yourself out of that situation that you might be feeling negative in. But then also I do try telling myself like, okay, let's say this doesn't become successful. Like let's say this fails. So like then you do something else. Like it's not, the worst
Yeah.
case scenario is never that bad. And obviously when like if you're investing a ton of money into something and then it fails, like that's a little different of a story. But
Yeah.
with things that are, with things like starting an agency for me was not that expensive. It really, you just have to start like a website, and then like I was just
Yeah.
my own employee at the time. So I was like, the investment is like a $200 website. Like it's not like that much. And so for me, I was like, I mean, okay, let's say this doesn't work out, then what? That's fine. But like I don't even like thinking like, oh, this isn't gonna work out. But I like
Yeah.
myself knowing like it's not the end of the world if something doesn't work, or it's not the end of the world if like you don't get your first client right away, or it's not the end of the world if you don't like figure out exactly how you want it to be right now. Like you're gonna learn, you're gonna grow, you're gonna like learn lessons from all of these things that you're doing. So I just try to kind of put that into my head and that into
Mm-hmm.
perspective, because I feel like if you have too much pressure to like be super super successful or be like super like the best in whatever field you're in, then you kind of set yourself up for failure. So I kind of just try to
Mm-hmm.
think like, what's the worst that can happen? It's not that bad. Like I'm just going to try and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to hope
Yeah.
obviously to be really successful. But like I feel like whenever you start thinking negatively, you kind of like freeze and you're like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to quit. And so that's kind of how I get out of that mindset.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like it goes back to the idea that I love, which is talk to yourself like you would talk to a best friend. Like so many
Yeah.
people are tearing themselves down. And it's like, would you say that to your best friend in the whole world or your sister? Like, would you ever say to them, like, oh, this is not going to work out. You're doing an awful job. Like, say to yourself what you would say to a best friend. And I think it's easier said than done. I think I'm more like you where I can say that stuff to myself and like I know how to talk myself off a ledge and like calm myself down. But I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people out there who might even be watching this. They just can't do that. And
Hmm.
I think it is a skill that you have to develop and it's a personality trait. But if you can just work on just stopping yourself in a negative, when you hear yourself talking down to yourself, I think it's just good advice to say to yourself, even if you don't believe it, like, what would you say to a best friend? Because sometimes you don't even
Yeah,
believe what you're saying to a best friend. Like maybe they are doing an awful job, but you would never say that to them, like they need the push. So I just always like to say, like, talk to yourself like you would talk to a best friend. And it sounds like that's sort of your coping mechanism too.
totally. And I've also even been like, for someone who used to never, ever, ever journal, I've been journaling a lot more. And that has helped
Yeah.
me a lot, because just getting all of your thoughts and feelings, dumping them into like a pen, like with pen and paper, I think helps so much. It just like clears your head. You kind of realize how insignificant your problems are, not like when you are writing it down. Like you really realize like this is not as big of a deal as I'm making it. Like I will be okay. As you're like writing stuff down because you like dump it on there and then you kind of like let yourself forget about it, which is so nice.
Yeah, okay. I want to talk to you about this because journaling is something I do the 5 minute journal. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. But are you talking more like the morning pages, or do you, when you're stressed, just journal randomly when you feel like journaling?
I've been trying, so I've actually been slacking these past 2 weeks, but I've been trying to journal at least like every morning or every other morning or, just a few times a week, just random thoughts. Like I don't really have an outline. I don't have questions that I answer. I really just do random thoughts of mine and I'll do them like I'll try to start with like gratitude. Like I'll try to start with everything that I'm thankful for because I feel like when you do start with that, you kind of automatically start your day with like positivity and like
Yep.
like just like a grateful heart because I feel like especially in 2020 it's easy to think about things that we're like not grateful for like oh this went wrong and this went wrong but like if you start with gratitude I just feel like your whole day is like off on a positive note. So I've been trying to
Yeah.
do that and then I'll kind of go into like whatever else I'm feeling, whatever else I'm thinking. And sometimes it's half a page, sometimes it's 5 pages, sometimes it's like 3 sentences. I don't really put any limits because I feel like once I put limits on myself, then it feels like more like a chore. So I'll just like
Yeah.
write whatever I'm thinking and whatever I'm feeling and it just like makes me feel so much better when I'm done with it.
I'm going to try that. I agree with the gratitude part of it because the 5 minute journal, the first thing that you answer is the three things you're grateful for.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's like you roll out of bed and if you didn't sleep well or something and you just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing this today. I don't feel like doing that today. I'm so tired. I don't want to get up, whatever it is. Then you open the journal and you force yourself to write the three things you're grateful for. And it just like automatically turns your day around. It's wild. I think it's so impactful.
Yeah, and I feel like especially with like for me, if I wake up and I have like a super stressful day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much I need to do today, it's easy to kind of want to skip that. But I'll just be like, let me just write down 3 things. Like a lot of my entries is just like 1, 2, 3, and it's the 3 things I'm grateful for, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a super long thing, but like I'll try to spend some time doing that. And then I also like another huge thing for starting your day off on a good note is to not check your phone in the morning. Do not check your phone in the morning. It is
It's a
like
hard one.
I have been doing it for a few months now, and I don't even like ever feel the urge to check my phone in the morning. I like check, I have my alarm on my phone, so I sleep next to it.
Mhm.
But like once I turn it off, I just keep it on my nightstand and I keep it charging and I go off and I do whatever else I need. And like I don't have it with me in the bathroom. I've been trying not to take it with me to the bathroom too, which sounds weird, but like whenever I go to the bathroom, I feel like I'm like have my phone with me. Like, or if you're like
Yeah.
at a restaurant and you go to the bathroom and you like take your phone with you to the bathroom
Yeah.
so you can check it. And I've been like leaving my phone so that I don't
Same. I
do that
leave it at the
anymore.
table.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I know that sounds silly, but even those like 3 minutes, like I don't need to be on my phone for 3 minutes. Like it's just like I feel like we've just gotten so
Yeah.
addicted to it. So I'll like
I agree.
intentionally leave it behind.
That's hard in the morning. I think I'm doing baby steps. So I get up, I open my shades, I do my 5 minute journal, and then I check my phone and I bring it to the bathroom because I listen to a podcast every morning while I'm washing up. But it's like, even if that's someone could listen to you and be like, oh, I can't do that. I know it's terrible, but I just can't do that. It's like the baby steps. Maybe just
Yeah.
do your journal first or something. But that's so random that I do that too. I started to like when I'm at a restaurant, I feel so great about myself when I just
Me
don't
too.
take my phone. It's so weird. That's
No,
so
I
funny.
feel the same way.
I've literally never said that out loud. I don't know why. It's just like a weird thing that feels so good to leave it at the table.
I know, or like in the morning, like if I'm going to the bathroom, just like in the like when I'm in the middle of my work day or whatever, I'm like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
leave it in my room. I don't need to take this with me. Like it's just
Yeah.
funny, like because I
It's
feel like
so
it's like weird to
crazy.
say, but like it actually makes a difference.
Yeah, and you feel great about yourself, but, like, that's so crazy that that small thing makes you feel great about yourself. We're so addicted, it's so bad. Like, it's really
Right?
bad.
I know, like that shouldn't be a big deal, and it is. Like,
No, I know. That's why I've gotten into reading because I'm like, looking at paper is so crazy.
mhm.
Like, there's no notifications. Like, it's a fully new thing for me, which leads me into actually the closing segment, which is fun facts and favorites. I'll start with that, I guess. What's your most favorite book you read recently?
Oh, Atomic Habits. I forgot
Oh,
who the author's
same.
name is, but that is such a good book.
James
Yeah, we
Clear.
do have the same list, I feel like.
We literally are always reading the same things. Atomic Habits and then favorite fiction Before We Were Strangers.
Yes. Yeah, Before We Were Strangers for me also. I just finished reading that as well.
Oh,
And I
it's
don't
so
really read
good.
fiction, but I want to get more into it because I feel like it's a good
Same.
way to like it's a good thing to read before bed, I feel like.
Agreed. That was like my first dabble in it, and now I'm so into it. I was at first it was always just like self-helpy type books,
Hmm.
and I was like, I might as well watch a show if it's going to be fiction. But
Right.
ever since reading Before We Were Strangers, I was like, okay, I get it. I get it.
I know. I need to get more into it.
Did you read Verity?
No, is it good?
You should. That's the other one I read. Yeah, it's so good. Oh, you
Okay,
have to
I'll
read
add
it.
it to
Okay.
my Goodreads.
Yes. Okay, favorite podcast right now,
My favorite
other than The
podcast.
Real Real.
Yeah. I'm trying to think which one I've been listening to recently. Okay, well, there's one that I really like, which is not like self-helpy, but it's the So Money podcast by Farnoosh Torabi, and she just talks all
Hmm.
about finance tips and like has really great like financial advice, and I've been learning so much from her. So that's I usually like the more entrepreneurial style podcasts, like the Skinny
Hmm.
Confidential.
Yeah,
I like Boss Babe podcast. I like the Girl Boss Radio, all
me
of that.
too.
But I've been really into the podcast called So Money, and it's so good. She just makes like learning about finance in such an easy, digestible way, but like also makes it fun because it's like a 45-minute episode talking to someone about
Uh-huh.
it and about their life and about
Right.
how they like
Yeah.
I don't know, like got their
I
finances
need to
in shape,
listen.
and yeah,
Okay, I
it's
need to
really
listen to
good.
that. Okay.
Mhm.
What is the last show you binge watched?
I finished Gossip Girl for the second time. So Gossip
Oh,
Girl,
yes.
and Queen's Gambit. I just finished Queen's Gambit.
I couldn't get through that one. I'm like embarrassed to say
Really?
that because I know. I think I just need to finish it. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know why.
I
I
thought
have
it
no
was
clue.
really good, and I like that it's a limited series. Like, I don't know if I would like it
Yes,
if it was like season after season after season, but for those like
true.
7 episodes, I thought it was really like well done for those. And I'm like now obsessed with that actress. I think she's so good. Like Anya
Oh,
Taylor, I
yeah.
think is her name. Yeah,
Oh,
she's
she was
so good.
amazing. I just couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Okay, what would be your last meal on earth?
This is a good question. Honestly, probably any like Japanese food, like sushi, fried rice, anything
Mm,
like Japanese probably would be my last meal.
sounds great. Okay, so obviously this is the Dare to Self Care podcast. So, I mean, we spoke about journaling and a few things throughout the podcast, but how do you dare to self care? Like, what's your ultimate favorite just self care ritual?
I would say for me, it's my morning routine. I really, 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 really cherish my morning routine. And if I don't have it and if I don't do it, I feel like I just
Hmm.
like don't know what to do with myself the rest of the day. So for me, it's my morning routine of waking up at a pretty early time. I wake up at like 7:30. And then getting up, not checking my phone, journaling, meditating, maybe. I don't meditate every day, but if I do, doing that,
Hmm.
working out, and then checking my phone and then working. But and like having my cup of
Hmm.
coffee right before work too. So like that
Yeah.
for me is just the best way to do it because it's so like it's just me, you know? I'm not on my phone, I'm not reading my text messages, I'm not like looking on Instagram, I'm not interacting with people. So like it's just my time to kind of reflect and do what's good for me. And then I can open the rest of the world up. I can check my email, I can check everything else. But like before 9 o'clock, no one needs to hear from me. Like I could be sleeping for all they know, you know? So I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't need to be online at that time. So
True.
my morning routines are my absolute favorite part of my day. Like I get excited for the
Same.
day because of my morning routines.
Same. Like I said, I bring my phone into the bathroom and the thing that gets me up in the morning is like, okay, let me check what podcasts came out so I can choose my podcast to just
Hmm.
listen to while I wash up. I told like mornings are absolute key for me. What do you use to meditate and what's your favorite workout in that routine?
Yeah, my Calm app I really like. So I love the Calm app. I think it just makes it super
Mhm.
easy and it's like so peaceful. And then from working out, I've been doing a lot of like strength training. So I got this app called like Fitbod and it just like does like just like normal like strength training workouts.
Yeah.
But I love, love, love Melissa Woodhouse. Like she's by far my absolute favorite. I
Same.
love
It's
Melissa Woodhouse.
insane. It's
Mhm.
insane how like you can do a hit workout or all these intense workouts and then you do Melissa Woodhouse. It's so calming. You barely sweat and like you are so toned and it's actually incredible.
I
It's
know.
wild.
It works. Yeah, it works.
It
And
works.
it just calms you.
Yeah, it's like the epitome of working out for your mental health and then it ends up also giving you a sick body. Like
Yeah.
it's insane. It's insane. I love
So
it.
true. Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you so, so, so much for coming on the podcast and YouTube. If you want to shout out all of your different platforms and your agency and everything, go for it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I'm so excited to listen to all of your other episodes.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm so pumped. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, just Natalie Barbu. It's at Natalie Barbu. My agency is being renamed, so I don't know when this is going up. When is this going
Oh,
up?
in January, probably like the second week of January.
Okay, so I'll do the new name for my agency. So
Okay.
my agency's name was Barbu Agency, and now we're changing it to We Bloom Social. So it's
I
going to be
love
at We
that.
Bloom Social. So you guys can check that out too.
Oh, it's so exciting. I'm so
I
excited for you.
know,
I'm
you're the
excited for
first
the
person I've
app.
told. Yeah.
Yay, I'm honored. Wait, when's the app coming out, do you think?
Oh, that will probably take a while. It will probably be in like middle of 2021, I would
Okay, well,
say.
I'm anxiously awaiting that. So I'm
Yeah,
really
it takes so
excited.
long to develop and like
I'm
design and do
sure.
all of that. So expected delivery by like June, I would say,
Okay, well, I'll be your
probably.
first user for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, you can be my guinea pig. Hopefully
Yay!
I'll be able to like get it obviously beforehand and like test it out myself. So I'll have like a few people that just like test it out before it goes live. So I'll definitely send it to
Yay.
you.
Yes, I'm so excited. Also want to shout out your Patreon because I'm a member of the Patreon. It is so much value for just like $5. It's absolutely insane. Everyone join us there because you get so much value. It's wild. You do such a great job on there.
Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. I love the
Of course.
Patreon. I love the Slack. The Slack is like by far my absolute favorite.
Me too. Like everyone's really responsive and helpful and like wants to be there for each other. It's not just, like those creepy comments on YouTube, like, by the way, I'm a small YouTuber.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's
It's
so
like
good.
actually
Like,
helpful.
I love the Slack.
Same. Okay, well, thank you so, so much. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. I would so appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate, review, and definitely subscribe so that you don't miss another insightful episode. Also, a friendly reminder that if you want to watch these episodes on video, they are all up on my YouTube channel, Jen Lauren, which is always linked in the show notes for you. You can also engage with the community on the Dare to Self-Care podcast Instagram, so definitely join us all there, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!